Years ago, I had the best summer job ever. I was a pilgrim. I worked at Plymouth Plantation, a recreated living history museum south of Boston, and I brought history alive for tourists from 9 to 5, in character, in a pilgrim costume. Now, how do you learn to be a pilgrim? Well, you learn on the job. And they throw you into it, but they give you the tools. There's lectures, there's primary documents, there's secondary sources, and you study on your own time. You're really into it. You've got this gorgeous costume. And it comes with rules. Yes, even pilgrims have rules. There were the basic sort of interpreter rules when you're in the village and talking to a tourist, no earrings, no tattoos, no drinking coffee, or even having hot chocolate. Your period all the way. We took that really seriously. But the golden rule, from 9 to 5, you stay in character and you never break, no matter what. So off I went. Met people from all around the world. For some reason, we had thousands of British visitors. They came in droves because the English love to come to New England. They like to check out those crazy forebears of theirs who left. Let's see how it worked out. Well, we loved the Brits because we loved a good question. There was nothing better than a really insightful question, and then we could show off and show how well we were trained while in character, and off we'd go. But the problem was, they asked these great questions in a real live English accent. Because part of our training was to respond in a real life English accent. My real life English accent was, well, not so hot. We had a character, let's say I was Jane Cook. My character came from Kent. I was taught a Kentish accent on a tape, and then roll it back 400 years, as it would have sounded in 1627. I sounded ridiculous. But did that British visitor make fun of me? No, they're known to be the most polite people on the planet. They just asked another great question. After these encounters, I'd start to think, am I making history come alive, or am I just sounding like a fool? But on I went, and by the end of the summer, I really hit my stride. I'm loving this. Then the farmers arrived. Now, in the fall, we'd get a lot of Midwesterners. I mean, the real farmer guy with a hat and the farmer tan. And they'd see me behind my garden. Now, we had a character, a house, and we were assigned a garden where we grew vegetables. I mean, we took this seriously. And the usual question was, so what are you growing? But this guy one day leaned in as I was hoeing behind my house, and, well, he started asking questions like, let's talk about crop rotation and seed varieties and irrigation techniques and that drought we had last summer in Iowa. How did you handle that here? So all in character, my little cap on and my costume, I look at him and think to myself, okay, you're a real life farmer. You probably have 5,000 acres and soybeans, and you probably lost your livelihood last summer. I'm a pretend pilgrim. Look at my garden. I'm not keeping anybody alive. I mean, there's 5 squashes and 3 radishes, and the carrots got eaten. I'm fake. You get that, right? I'm not sure he really understood I was fake. Again, I'd come away from these interactions, wow, I really solved it. But did I just completely boggle this guy's mind, or did I bring history alive? And on I went into the next season, which is Thanksgiving. Okay, Thanksgiving in Plymouth, you're a pilgrim. Well, hold on. The tourists are coming in by the busloads, and you're working it. And it was a cold day, and I was in my house, and I was in front of the fire, and I had a chicken on the spit. I did. I had a chicken on the spit. Normal pilgrim routine, trust me. We took this seriously. I don't think you understand that. So I'm in my house, and I'm cooking, and the door opens, and a family walks in, and they cluster around the hearth. And they're a family of Mennonites. And they're 3 young women about my age, and they are hanging on to every move I make at the hearth. And they see me there. And I have my white cap covering my hair. We called it the coif, that never budged. And my beautiful handmade costume to my sleeves, to my neck, and down to the ground. and these plain brown shoes that were doing their best to look, period. And I looked back at these 3 young women with the caps covering their hair and their long, modest dress and their plain brown shoes. And right then, I wanted to break the cardinal rule of pilgrimdom. I wanted to take my coif off and close the door and gather them close to me by the hearth. And I wanted to ask them questions. I wanted to say, what's it like to be a Mennonite young woman today? I wanted to know, what's it like to live a life of faith in this secular world? What's it like to have ancestors who really came here seeking religious freedom? They were the real deal. And I wanted to ask questions, but I couldn't. My job was to stay in character and answer questions. And right then and there, I knew I had to leave a job I loved. I was too young to spend my day inhabiting somebody else from centuries past. I was answering questions all day. I needed to get out and live my own little 20-year-old life and ask a lot of questions. So I left. And I went to the costume department and turned in my beloved, beautiful costume that I had gotten so fond of. And I went to HR. Yes, pilgrims have HR. And I signed out for the final time and got my huge severance check. And then I realized I had to go out in the world and find a job. And what can you do when you're a pilgrim? That's gonna look really great on a resume, but guess what? Guess what? Pilgrim on your resume makes for really fun interviews. And it prepares you for a lot more than you'd think. And I live a couple lessons today by that job. A couple of my own rules that don't involve churning butter. But the first one is, I really think long and hard about putting on a costume, because I think costumes they can confuse you, not always connect you. And I always have taken jobs where I could drink coffee on the job. But also I want jobs where I can speak in my own voice and I can ask questions anytime. And I've done that, and it's been quite a pilgrimage. Thank you.